Mathing, welcome. Today we have two-step equations. Now you can kind of see up here I put in quotes multiply. Okay, the reason I say that is because kind of that's what's happening in the problem, but we have to realize what we need to do to solve it. The next one will be the divide videos. Okay, previously we did one-step equations where we had something like 2x equals 10 or maybe an x minus 4. Okay, now it's just two-step. Okay, two-step equation should be the goal you want to get to because everyone should be able to solve a two-step equation. Okay, it's the most basic thing on your level 2 test. It's the very first problem. It's just a two-step equation. Okay, so in order to do this, we need to get the variable by itself. I mentioned at one point you kind of want to do reverse order of operations. So normally order of operations says to multiply first, but we're going to do it backwards. So instead, we're going to get rid of this -4 first. Okay, from last time we talked about what we have to do is we need to add that 4 to keep the equation balanced to both sides. That way we'll get a 0 here. In other words, they'll just cancel out. So I'm going to add the 4 to both sides. On the left, they'll go ahead and cancel. So I'll get 2x equals. And on the right, I get a 14. And then from here, we just have one step. So the reason I said multiply is technically 2x is multiplying. So to solve it, we would then divide. So I would divide by 2, and I get x equals 7. And that is my answer. Okay? Pause if you need to. Otherwise, I'm going to do B, and then I'm going to give you a second to try C. So in B, you notice I flipped the number and the variable. That doesn't change anything. You still need to get the number away from the variable term first and then solve the variable. So I'm going to take this 5. Okay, you're always looking at the sign in front of it. Technically, there's no sign there. So I'm going to subtract it. Okay, if you want to add the plus sign, add the plus sign. So I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. On the left, they'll go away. We'll get 3x equals -9. And then we'll divide by 3. Similar to how we just did example A. And we get x equals -3. And that's my answer for B. One thing you'll notice, especially when we get into multi-step equations and story problems and stuff like that, a lot of times your last step is going to be to divide. Okay, you'll see in the next video that last step will be multiply and stuff like that, but most of the time it's going to be to divide. Okay, so pause, solve C on your own, and here we go. So, two-step equation, I put the variable on the right this time. That doesn't change anything. Okay, you're still moving things away from the variable. At some point you'll realize that we have options on where the variable's at, but that's not until we get to variables on both sides, which is, in like 3 or 4 days. So, I still want to move this number away from my variable term. Since it's a -8, okay, remember, we're looking at the sign in front of the number, not behind the number. So since it's a -8, I'm going to add 8 to both sides. On the right now, they're going to cancel. On the left, we have -2 plus 8. That will give me different signs. So I need to subtract those signs. So 8 minus 2 gives me a 6. It's a +6 because my 8 is farther from 0 than the -2, so we keep that positive sign. And then we have on the right just a 6x. Okay, now, one thing people are going to mess up, I kind of made this one a little bit easier, but one thing people are going to mess up, let's say we have something like, I don't know, 2 equals 4x. People are going to want to, this is all made up, this is made up right here, has nothing to do with the problem, but people are going to divide by the smaller number. You don't always divide by the smaller number. Okay, you're going to notice you get fractions a lot. Okay, you divide by the number that's with the variable. That's how you get that to kind of cancel out because it becomes a 1. If I were to divide this by the 2, okay, I would get 1 equals 1/2, or 1 equals 2x. That's not solved. Okay, you always divide by the number that is with the variable. In this made up problem here, you divide by 4 and you get 1/2 equals x. Okay, always divide by what's with the variable. In this case, for the problem C, it's not going to matter. We divide by 6 This will give me a 1 equals x. And that is it. Okay, so pause if you need to. Otherwise, you'll have a practice for this. The next video will be dividing for these type of problems. It's still a two-step equation, but it's very similar, except now you're gonna have to do something different at the end to solve them. Hope you have a good one.